What's up, everybody? It's Jamaal Jackson Rogers, A.K.A. JustJamaal ThePoet. We are here kicking it at SuzyQ, and we're about to start episode 5 of Eat and Greet with Abel.
Welcome to another episode of Eat and Greet. My name is Abel, and today I'm joined with Jamaal Jackson, A.K.A. JustJamaal ThePoet, right?
Poet, yeah.
And today we're in Ottawa, Ontario, at the one and only SuzyQ, the donut shop. If you're ever here, come check it out. They have amazing donuts. If you've seen, you'll see in the video later on. But like, look at us. Look at these donuts. You don't get this at Tim Hortons. For all of you who know, you know. My guest today is an Ottawa-based artist. He's a nationally recognized artist, both in music and spoken word. He's an entrepreneur, an arts educator, a mentor, one of Ottawa's first Poet Laureates in the last 30 years, and most importantly, father and husband. He's also a member of the hip-hop group Missing Links. If you remember from our second episode, we also had Sergio, A.K.A. Checo Salam, on, so he's another member of that group. With a recent album called Space Camel. Space. He has also like a huge involvement with the creative projects in Ottawa, such as Urban Legends Poetry Collective, Nationless Minds Music Concert, the Algonquin College Poetry Slam, House of Paint OG 500 Poetry Slam, National Youth Poetry Festival. The list goes on. He does the work. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
No worries.
Should I say that it's Jamaal Jackson Rogers?
Yeah.
Should we?
Yeah,
Jamaal
it is.
Jackson
Did I say
Rogers?
just Jamaal Jackson?
You said Jamaal
Jackson. I apologize.
It's okay.
Jamaal Jackson Rogers.
Jamaal
It's
Jackson
very important.
Rogers.
Actually, when you Google yourself, like it shows up second, and I was like, okay, you got to put the Rogers in.
Oh,
it's very right.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
Jamaal Jackson Rogers.
Let's do it.
So first I want to say thank you again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Episode 5.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to know how it started. I understand it's poetry came first. I'm not mistaken.
Poetry came first,
and then it was the music that developed from there, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that, like how, because they're very like interconnected mediums. Like, why do you think that poetry manifested first, and then kind of evolved into what it is now for you?
For me, it was about love of language and words. You know how words have influence and power.
Yeah.
And so my father encouraging me to read the dictionary at a young age, to study it, and to understand how to command the English language was my foray into basically becoming a lover of words. And then from there, teachers noticed that I had a passion for language, encouraged me to go find a library book, a book of poems from the library. And then when I read my first book of poems, I was 9 years old in grade 4. And for 9-year-olds, poetry is not often a thing where people can recognize how language can create such deep feelings. But it did for me when I read Langston Hughes' first poem, not his first poem, but my first poem called Harlem. And it's about Langston growing up in Harlem and the difficulties in Harlem. And I related to that poem. And then from there, I just knew that I wanted to use language in a way that would help inspire and perhaps influence my community. And so, from there, transformed into music, because as a teen, all my friends were listening to music. Music was something that was played a lot in my house, and we were exposed to it. But music from like the 50s and the 40s, we're talking like ballads almost, right? Black ballads of rhythm and blues. And so the rhythm and the patterning that music offers, I find the similarities in poetry, and I just weave those two together when I was in high school, of writing songs, but using the poetry within the songs to tell stories.
So were you just writing in high school, or were you performing in front of a crowd? Or did that come later?
My first time performing was the Puff Daddy with Faith Evans song, I'll Be Missing You.
Oh my God, no.
It was on Remembrance Day, actually. Funny, because tomorrow's Remembrance Day.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
My first performance in high school, and I sung it and I rapped. I did both parts. I did the chorus and the rap, and that's when I realized I like being in front of audiences, you know, performing. And
did you feel comfortable?
Really comfortable.
Okay.
Really comfortable.
Yeah.
I didn't get that nervous feeling like other people feel.
Some people
getting on
channel the
stage.
nerves.
Yeah, some
You know
people
what I mean?
do.
Some people do, and some people are just like, this is what I want. So, go ahead. Yeah, sit down. It's okay. You won't be in the shot. Don't worry. Where was I? Yeah. Some people channel the nerves, so it works out really well. And some people just like, this is I know.
Yeah.
I know this is where I want to be.
It was my zone.
Yeah.
It's where I'm most comfortable. I feel safe there, and it's not because I want attention. It's more because I get to be expressive.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Before we go on, actually, I was doing a little research on just like your social media posts and whatnot, and like nothing bad, but you've actually raised a really good point most recently, and it has to do with like filtering out the not the negative posts, but it's almost in a sense the negative posts, like anything that's very traumatic, and it's not to say to take away that like you shouldn't be knowing about these things, but you want to be in a headspace where there's more positivity than it is negativity, right? And so is that something you just led up to? Or is like, did you realize, oh no, like these algorithms are like kind of working against us? Because that's what it is essentially.
It is.
You want to be connected, understand what's going on within your community, especially with the arts community. A lot of it is channeled through experience.
Yeah.
People's lived experiences and whatnot. So it's like, it's hard not to want to be involved. And when social media is such a crucial component of our lives now, you're just like, what do I do? Because if I don't share, then maybe I'm not doing my part. But if I do it, now my timeline, whatever platform it may be, is flooded with everything that I really don't want to see anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or I'm working to combat in some way.
Yeah.
So like, tell me how that experience is going so far, because I know it's fairly recent.
Yeah.
You know, and like I don't want to go into anything that you don't want to talk about.
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. I decided to make that post because social media is it's like peeping into the lives of the backyards of people's experience, and you can also now find out if people are, you know, following you or liking you, and it creates emotions and kind of also triggering with, you know, how you respond to relationships. Yeah. Because it's a relationship type platform, whether it's business, personal, intimate. We use online interactions that way now, and I realize as a person who needs to inspire and offer positivity to people's lives in an everyday basis, ongoing basis, I need to keep my mental health in a positive space too as well, to be able to deliver and facilitate the best experience for people around me, right?
And people will take that personally.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think for you to elevate yourself to the next level, to do the work that you want to be doing, it's really important to notice like this is affecting me. Because I notice it too.
Yeah.
Especially since, and it's less so like the platforms like Facebook that people kind of transition out of, but like the Instagrams and maybe whether it's YouTube, whatever, but like these algorithms now are like almost sentient in a way where like they'll know what you like. It's a very small part of you, but it's what everybody sees.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
It's not the whole component, right? So like you said, like the backyard, like the voyeurism
the voyeurism.
It's very small percent, but people will take that as like this is all you are.
Right.
So let's get back to the music.
Yeah.
Like I said, Chico Salam was on the show, and he told me like what an amazing experience, like for all of you to get back together, to get back into the music. And so like, what was your experience, especially with there being such a long gap between your initial album, I think it was 2011 or 2012?
2012. Yeah.
And like 2018, 6-year gap.
Yeah.
You know, you grow as an adult, you have more kids. I believe you have 6 kids, right?
I have 6.
Like that all influences like what comes out in your music, right?
Yeah. Well, for that 6-year gap, I know Shako, out of the 4 of us, doesn't like talking about the space between the first album and the second album. But it was a chance for us to really ask ourselves, why are we doing what we're doing?
Yeah.
You know, like we're creatives. We have songs, ideas galore. For days.
Yeah.
But it's like in our position as poets, and each of us, take up space in the artistic scene, we're contributors, where people look towards us as somewhat of leaders or, tastemakers. we often ask ourselves in our group chat, but why? And how do we really provide an experience within the stories that we want to tell that will continue to ask, get people to ask questions and then, you know, broaden their perspective. So we just really shook with those ideas. We really wanted to put out something that was going to make people think beyond. Right? And so the idea of space camels is it's supposed to be space camels, but the X is silent. We put an X in there instead of the C. The X is silent because the X is the unknown. And are we ready to journey into the unknown collectively together? Camels being the animal or the creature that we, you know, adore but we abuse, right? So we're kind of reflecting on our inner selves, and then as well trying to see if that relates to the outer self as well, and then bring everybody on a journey.
I would love to get a shot by shot to see if you and Sergio's explanation is the same in some form or way, but maybe in another video. So you recently released. I think it's your independent video. Your first independent video.
My first musical independent video,
And so last year in 2018, you released the video for Pegasus. Which, I mean, the album was amazing, but the music video was great because it just encapsulated a little bit of everybody in the group. Essentially, from what I saw of it. But, so what were the differences? What was your role in that, and how did it differ between Pegasus and between, what's it called, The City?
Pegasus it was about recognizing that we got to go out there and get the bag. You know, we got to secure the bag. We got to make moves economically. It's, you know, it's not just about the dollars. You know what I mean, and holding on to it. It's about economic success. But that one that would help foster the community to be able to be nurtured and thrive and to grow. Right. So it's kind of putting that word out there. How do we talk about getting that money without making it seem like everybody else's hip hop song that's out there? And then, you know, my position in that was to talk about the detriments of success, right? Of financial success, chasing something that's actually and oftentimes people are dying for, you know what I mean, and losing their sanity for. So my verse in that was about that, right? And this song, The City, that I just released 2 weeks ago, I think now, it was my personal experience on what is the first thing I want to say about Jamaal as a solo independent hip hop artist. And my message has been fairly similar along my journey as a professional artist, is that I'm here for community building. I'm not about division. So I wanted to tell a story about my history growing up in the city, but it wasn't fair in my mind to be able to just tell that story only. I needed to tell some other stories as well too that I've experienced and I've witnessed, because that's what artists do. We observe, whether it's within or without, and then we create from that or produce.
I mean, you had Jay Baskin and Ray Somi.
That's right. Jay Baskin
and I haven't heard of them before, but I listened to them and I went in to see what else they've done. So I guess there are other artists in Ottawa.
That's right.
I've seen Jay Baskin's work. Ray
Somi's new. She doesn't. It's first time. Producing something of this caliber. Wonderful singer, but I wanted a Somali voice on there.
Of course.
To represent that city that I grew up
with. Especially with the history of what's going on within the last 3-4 years. And Abdirahman, right?
That's right.
So I called you an entrepreneur in the beginning of the interview. Mainly because this is how I met you. The creation of the Origin Studios. You know what I mean? That was a huge endeavor, because now you're providing a space for local artists to be like, I want to perform. What's going on in the city? What event is here? Can I host something? Can I do something? You know what I mean? Like having that outlet in a city where, at least growing up for me, I'm just like, why everybody's going to Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver to jumpstart something, or maybe the States, you know, there's so much talent, raw talent in this city, and why isn't that being focused on, right? And so to start your own place, and I know there was a little difficulty with the name at the beginning.
That's right.
I remember back then there was a little difficulty with the name, and you did recent renovations. So what are some of the challenges in running an open space for creatives?
Trying to remain open, trying to remain that we're serving the community in ways that people feel comfortable and it's an inclusive space. Our goal is to make art accessible, right? Because it's life-changing. Myself, I found art offered my life an ability to heal, to have retrospection within some of the things that I deal with. So I wanted to be able to make it accessible instead of looking at the bigger institutions, the larger institutions that oftentimes get all of the clout, all of the accolades, right? But they don't serve the inner city. They don't as well as they could.
Yes,
they could.
It could be a lot better.
That's right. Yeah. It could be a lot better. So I asked myself, what is my role? And when I went to India for my first poetry retreat that I was delivering there, the ladies that invited me said, you need to open up your own space. And I said, that's a dream of mine, but in Canada it's way too expensive to own and operate your own space. I don't have the capital. She said, Freddie, her name is, she said, Jamaal, if you want something, you have to speak positivity towards it. Don't start with a negative thought or a negative idea. She's like, do you want your own creative space? I was like, absolutely. She's like, go home with the mantra that you're going to get it. And then I came back on a Friday, and on Sunday we signed the papers, myself, Jackie DeToy, and my older brother, Captain, and we got the space.
And from there on, it's incremental movement.
That's right.
And the thing, like, one of the best advice I've ever been given was that if you don't let the details deter you from achieving a goal or a dream, because we get so wrapped up in then the execution of things must be perfect that we're just like, can't happen. In this case, it's like, can't afford it. That's a detail. If we do it, where is it going to be? That's a detail. Rather than just saying, let's just do it, and as it unfolds, we'll deal with those things as they come along, right? But getting into that mindset is very difficult because not only are you facing whatever's going on within you, but like you tell that idea to somebody else and like, not possible. You know why? These, and like details, right? And like what happens is your dream is crushed, or it never blossoms into something that could be, and how it's going to impact people.
It doesn't manifest.
Yeah. Talked about how it was how do your responsibilities permit you to like make sure Ottawa is the space for that, right? So how did becoming Ottawa's first Poet Laureate in like 30 years, I believe there was two of you, right?
There's two of us, a French Poet Laureate and an English Poet Laureate, which was myself.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Essentially, tell me what a Poet Laureate is, for people who don't know, and then tell me how that position can help you secure the things that you need to secure to make the city a better space for artists.
Great question. So the Poet Laureate is an ambassador for all things poetry in the city. They are considered like a spokesperson, or not a vanguard, but just a spokesperson that reminds the city of its history with poetry, and also implements and creates activities that will generate more interest and involvement with the art of poetry. And so cities across the world have Poet Laureate positions. It originated in England, in the UK, and then just other countries and cities adopted it. And so there's parliamentary Poet Laureates where they are federal, like they're at the federal level representing the country as the Poet Laureate, and then there's sometimes provincial, and then there's municipal city Poet Laureates. So for myself, when I heard about the position, it was like 5 years ago when someone was saying they're trying to bring the position back, and some poets were talking about getting involved on a committee. I was like, I'm never going to be that. So tell me how it goes. And then 2.5 years ago, I got the phone call in the summer saying that they had nominated me for the position. And I didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I actually hung up the phone on the person, said, I'll call you back. I thought it was a prank. And then the person called me back. He's like, no, like over 200 people were not interviewed, but like looked at their backgrounds.
There's a process. There's a huge process.
And so for me, knowing that it's, dreams are possible, given my background and where I've come from, I wanted to be able to use that position to just continue to inspire communities, especially marginalized communities. So it was a big opportunity for me in order to shine a light on this city, especially to Ottawa being a person of color, right? And having that position after 27 years, it opened up some opportunities for me to work with different organizations and communities I never had access to before. So using those now, I'm still here in the streets trying to make things happen.
And I mean these are all milestones, stepping stones for where you're going, right? And to think about it, like when did Origin open up originally?
We acquired the space 4 years ago. We opened about 3.5 years.
So all your work prior to that, you setting up shop essentially, that creates buzz. Right? That creates buzz, and then that puts you in like the front running to positions like this.
This is what I was told. I was like, I haven't published a book yet. So how could I be Poet Laureate?
Because you started a space. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, it's these little things where we don't see the potential of what they can be. But when those opportunities are like presented to us, you're just like, oh, I had no idea this could be a. But then you got to take it.
Right.
Because if you stay stagnant, that's huge
right.
because now you're doing a disservice to yourself and everything that you're essentially said that you're working for.
That's right. That's right.
So like, if anything, this position should be like, okay, how many more doors can I open? Who else? What can we bring in?
Right.
You know, it should be to. I hate to say everything isn't for progress.
Right.
Because there's something wrong with that, but it is essentially like there's an issue here in Ottawa, and like let's focus on it.
That's right.
How do we address these marginalized communities?
Right.
How do we address that there's so much talent in the city and like they need a space to present their work? And in turn, like how does that impact Ottawa? Does that make us more of a hotspot for people to come and visit, for people to recognize? Because as it is now, when people think Canada, they're just like Toronto is the capital city.
It's true.
You know what I mean? And it's just like it's not. You know, like can we transition from a government, like a mainly government city, into like no, it's a thriving like hot pot of like
metropolis of
do you know what I mean? And so it's just like everybody's got a key role to play, and like yours is integral to that, right? Because you take you know what I mean. So kudos, all to you.
Thank you.
So we're almost done. So during events and whatnot at Origin, I've seen your wife and your kids all there.
Yeah.
They help out, they support you. So in what ways do they influence your work? Because I'm assuming it's huge.
Very much so.
Yeah.
To the point where some people tell me you don't always have to bring your kids around, you know, like we're my family.
But I got it.
But I got to. They influence my work because they're my community. They're my first community that I serve, and it's a reminder that in my Afro-Caribbean community, that it's necessary to involve. Like if you're trying to create a movement or help build a culture, right? A culture of positivity and community and unity. Then I want my children to experience that. But because I know I serve them first and foremost, they're my biggest importance, right? It reminds me to continue that what I do with them outside in the community. So I look at everybody as I look at most people as my family. When I'm interacting, how do I honor that person? How do I serve them as if they're my sibling, as if they're someone who's close to me, who I hold dear? And so bringing them around, it also allows them to see the communities that I interact with, so they're not stifled in an old-fashioned mentality, thinking that communities should only be with each other all the time.
No.
It's really important for us to connect and branch out and see, share.
Yeah, because we're all. I think people forget that like communities are cross-contaminated, right? And like I think that's the perfect word because you don't realize the influence like so many of these communities have within your own community. But once you sit there and like dissect it, it's like, oh, that wouldn't have been possible without them.
With that community,
this wouldn't have been
first.
Exactly, right? So it's like once you realize that, you're like, well, what kind of initiatives, what kind of projects can we do? Where it's like it takes that into recognition first, right up from the ground up, rather as opposed to like recognizing it later on and be like, well, now you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's just great. And I know you've recently moved out of the city and more into the countryside.
The irony. Put out a song called "The City" and I moved out.
Yeah, which I think I understand like why you did it. Maybe for more like clarity and like to provide like I don't know. There's something about open space that like is for like children especially and like raising a family, and I understand like there's challenges to that because you may not see people who look like you who live there. But
we're the only ones.
Right. There's a separation between where I live and the community that I work in.
Physically, I needed that for myself, for my family too. We all talked about it. We agreed on it. We don't live just with the amount of children we have, and we don't live a very common life. And so moving out to the countryside was one. It's a reflection of how I grew up. When I grew up in Guyana, my father had land. We were in the countryside, and so
normal there.
It was quite normal in Guyana, right?
Not so much here.
Exactly. So it offers us a sense of serenity. I know when I'm home, I could be with my family, and then that call to serve is now just for me and my family.
I'm gonna try like a new segment for this for the show. But like, do you have any embarrassing food stories or moments that like you can tell the audience? Like
embarrassing food stories?
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, so I once tried this competition to see who can eat the most sesame seed. You know those sesame seed
like the crackers?
Cracker things?
Yeah, they taste good.
Yeah, they taste amazing, right? They come in these little clear packages.
Yeah.
So I had this competition, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna lose. I love sweets. I'm gonna eat so much of these. And I had at that point in my life, I had never remembered throwing up before.
Yeah, okay.
The feeling of what throwing up is like. I must have done it when I was a baby, but I don't remember all my entire life throwing up. And I rammed down a whole bunch. I won the competition, and then I went upstairs in the home I was in, and I threw up for like 24 hours straight. I thought I was gonna die. No one told me.
Because you're just heaving.
Throwing up. Oh my God! I thought my soul was being ripped out of my body. And so I was over the tub, the toilet, and never again.
Never again.
I've never touched another sesame seed.
When you smell it, like you're just like memories, like
nightmares.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any plug? Do you have any work that you want to plug?
Well, I want to shout out Eat and Greet with Abil. This is an amazing venue. This is an amazing venture, and he chose an amazing spot in the city, SuzyQ, to do it. So thank you, Abil, for having me on the show.
Thank you so much, and thank you, SuzyQ, for letting us shoot here, for letting me interview Jamaal Jackson Rogers.
Respect.
You all heard it right, okay? Jamaal Jackson Rogers. It will be in the title, and I'll
be in Toronto doing When Brothers Speak, November 23rd.
Yes.
And a lot of great things coming up for next year at the Origin Arts and Community Center at 57 Lindale Avenue, so check us out.
So if you're in Ottawa, check them out, check SuzyQ out, and make sure to remember to eat well and connect better. I know I am, I know Jamaal is, and I'll see you guys later. Take it easy, bye. Oh, bro.
What do you think?
Thank you.